What's up, you guys? Slasher Movie Reviews, and today I'm finally going to be sharing you guys the video that I've been honestly wanting to make for an extremely long time, and that's sharing with you guys how I got into horror. Because how I went from hating horror movies to loving horror movies, I feel it's a very interesting story, and I really been wanting to share it with you guys. But I will admit, I never knew when would be the perfect time to share this story. But then I see Bloodbath and Beyond is having a contest for hitting 5,000 subscribers, and their question is, how did you get into horror? So I figured, you know what, now is the best time than ever to share with you guys how I got into horror films. So let's begin here. I truly think it's worth mentioning, you guys, that I hated horror movies. Hated them. I couldn't fathomably understand growing up why people liked watching them. My dad and my sister loved horror movies, but my mom hates them, so I never watched them because I was gravitating towards my mother's point of view. Now, I loved movies, and I loved going to the movies, and I remember going to the movies with my family to see Peter Jackson's King Kong. But I remember beforehand they had a preview for the film Final Destination 3. Now, you should know, you guys, I'm a big thrill junkie, predominantly roller coasters. Like, growing up, going to amusement parks and riding roller coasters was like my thing. I loved roller coasters. So the fact that they were having a movie about it, I was like, I want to see that. But then I realized it was a horror movie, and I don't like horror movies, so I was like, ugh. So the seed was planted while I went to go see King Kong. I remember sitting down, I was watching TV, and I think it was like I was channel surfing, and I remember seeing that like in the next 10 minutes, the original Friday the 13th was coming on television, and I was like, maybe I might watch it. I talked to my dad, I was like, you know what, I'm going to watch a horror movie. I decided I'm going to watch it, and this will determine whether or not I go see Final Destination 3, whether or not I like the genre, all that stuff. I'm finally, I'm going to stop being a hypocrite, and I'm going to see what it is about the horror genre that has so many people and so many fans and so many people loving it. And I was in the 7th grade at the time, so I had gone a long time in my life without watching a horror movie. I sat down, and I started watching it. And I was getting into it. I'm following the girl. She's a backpacker. And please keep in mind, I'm going to be spoiling a lot of Friday the 13th then. And then, as you guys know, the girl that we're introduced to dies really early on into the film. And this shocked me like no other. So I was expecting her to live. She was supposed to be the virgin, the final girl who survived. Why is she dead? So it terrified me, and it made everyone else in the film expendable. And I didn't know who was going to live and who was going to die. So when Kevin Bacon died, I screamed. And I'm keeping in mind, I'm watching this on TV with commercials and everything, and it's terrifying me. It's terrifying me. I was like, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to get through this. I remember times running away. I literally ran away at one point, and I remember going to my parents like, I can't do this. And I remember running back. It was like, it was scaring me. But I remember like the ending of the film, and it blew my mind because I kept expecting Jason Voorhees to appear. Just, guys, please, my innocence, you guys, please remember, I was pure and innocent at the time. So I didn't know, I was expecting Jason Voorhees, but it blew my mind to find out that it was his mother doing the killing all along. I was like, oh my god. So my head was spinning. I was having like it was crazy experience. When the movie was over, you guys, there was this sort of revelation, this burden, this air that had been lifted, and it was this adrenaline rush that I had felt for like an hour and a half, and I realized I might actually like horror movies. I remember watching a bunch of horror movies in my spare time, and I started to really fall in love with the genre, and I love the adrenaline rush it gets. Growing up, I was big in Harry Potter and Jurassic Park, and I like that fantasy element and the escapism, but what I love about horror is there's this sense of realism to the genre. No matter, like, how absurd that it gets, some films, and that's particularly why I'm so prominently attached to the slasher movie genre, because killers are real. They happen, it's home invasions, they happen, they're a real thing. That's why they're so terrifying to me. And so that sense of realism, I never felt something so real that I did when I watched that first Friday the 13th film. And I remember started loving horror movies, and I realized later on I kept talking about it, but you know, after a while, you know, people didn't want to talk to me about it as much. It's like, so, you know, and I was like, so I started going out to see them in the theaters, and I remember I remember seeing the remake of The Hills Have Eyes in the theater, and man, you guys, that movie did damage on me. It was so brutal, it was so raw, and I wasn't expecting it, and I didn't even know The Hills Have Eyes. Keeping eyes, this is my evolution from going from like completely blind to where I am now. You know, I'm still growing, I'm still learning more about horror. I'm finding, you know, I've definitely learned a lot. I've seen a lot in a small amount of time. Keep in mind, that was 7th grade. I'm now 23 in college. So, you know, short amount of span, I've become obsessed with horror films and the adrenaline rush that it gives me, you guys. And I remember predominantly going out to the theaters for an advanced screening for the original Paranormal Activity. You know, I saw the trailer and I saw it was playing in 10 theaters in the whole U.S. and I was like, I want to go. So me and my aunt went to go see it. My aunt is like, she used to be like my partner in crime going to all the horror movies because my dad, he's more of a stay-at-home type of horror movie guy, while I'm like a theatrical experience type of person. So I remember going with my aunt to see the Paranormal Activity film, and this was before all the hype, and it did a damage on me. This is the first film that I remember, and I had my like exorcist experience. I was shaken up. I couldn't sleep. I was like, oh, hyperventilating. I remember during watching the film, I wanted to leave the theater so freaking bad. I thought I was going to puke. I was so scared, crapless. When was the last time a movie has stayed with me this prominently in my mind? Those images stuck to my brain like that. And it just blew my mind. And that's why I think horror is the best genre. Because there are some horror movies that I've seen, you guys, and they have that lasting impression. Yes, I love Star Wars, I love Harry Potter, they have those lasting impressions, certain magical moments, but nothing has ever lasted with me as much as a horror film has. You know, the Blair Witch Project, Paranormal Activity, The Exorcist, you know, Friday the 13th. I was just so blown away by the genre, and then I decided, you know what, I'm going to make YouTube videos. And there's a video of me explaining how I got into YouTube. You know, once I decided I started making YouTube videos, I wanted to make this channel predominantly horror movies because I just loved horror movies so much. It was like my genre. I love the genre. I just want to talk to people about it. So you guys, I know this video is probably extremely long and probably a little winded here and there, but that's how I got into horror movies. And I would love to know in the comments section below, how did you get into horror movies? What was the first horror movie that you ever saw? You know, what about it made you fall in love with the genre? Who made you fall in love with the genre? I really credit my dad and my aunt for being the people who really, in a sense, fixated me and making me fall in love with genre. And also, big, huge congratulations to Bloodbath and Beyond. You did it! You hit 5,000 subscribers. That's pretty freaking awesome. Congratulations, you guys. And until next time, you guys, I'm the Slasher Movier, and you guys have just been slashed.